So I'm reading Doc Searl's The Intention Economy, and it's amazing how much it fits public education. It's talking about the customer taking charge, and it's talking about it all being centered around the customer, and it's talking about how much business tries to personalize, but that's different than it being owned by the customer. That makes me think of project-based learning, game design. It's personalizing it is different than letting the learner choose, facilitating their curiosity. Personalizing a publicly prescribed curriculum is not going to cut it. It's going to be bling for a couple of years. So, very resonating. Glad that I'm reading it. One thing in particular that I just read, that it's not about I guess more that it's about helping people be aware of their options. So like these meetings, or this whole idea of how do we let people in Loveland know what's going on, nationally, globally, but specifically, how do we let people in Loveland know what's going on? Last week we talked a lot about marketing, which didn't resonate with a lot of us. And it does depend on how you define marketing. But experiences, get-togethers last week just reinforced for me that we don't personalize marketing for people. It's more about them waking up, talking to themselves enough to say, what are my options? And then when they're asking for it, helping them to find, seek, learn, share their options. Having someone ask me last week about the legalities of like doing a letter of intent to homeschool, or just, and then, reading all the data on SAT and AP tests. This is a rehashing, but obviously not enough people know about it, so rehashing, I guess, is okay. If you believed in it, if you believed in that's what we should measure, it's some zero, it's some negative. If you believed in putting money towards it, it's some negative. But what we need to do is wake people up to start talking to themselves and question, is this the best for me, for my kids? Because now if you don't believe that we should be testing on things that were only created for perhaps 5 or 10% of the people, proof that if you can measure it, it's really not what matters most. Okay, so if you get all that, it's like, what? What are we getting ourselves into? What are we not keeping ourselves away from? So, I think right now the only way to scale this across, to make it happen in a timely manner, is to help people, to help free people up to believing it's legal to think for themselves, to start thinking for themselves daily and asking more questions about what their options are. The options today are limitless. There's so much research that, okay, so the bits about the mass testing of kindergartners or 5-year-olds for curiosity, like 98% of them tested genius level. 5 years later, dropped down to like 50%. Why don't we question that? I don't know if it was Fortune 500, but the top SAT scores, thousands, looked at them after they graduated, and they were pretty much lost. We're preparing kids to take tests. We're doing really well.